Hey everyone, it's Holmes from Home Storybooks, and today I'm here to tell you about one of my favourite publishing houses, Arsenal Pulp Press. They're a Canadian publisher based in Vancouver and have been operational since 1971. I realised that a lot of the books I have rated very highly and enjoyed very, very much, or are anticipating, are by Arsenal Pulp Press. Scarborough by Katherine Hernandez, Tomboy Survival Guide by Ivan Coyote are 4 or 5 star books that I've read and loved this year. I sort of stumbled upon this accidentally, partly through the Canada Reads longlist and partly through my own interest, but now Arsenal Pulp Press is as much a measure for quality as a good author is for me. Scarborough by Katherine Hernandez is a story about a community told from multiple perspectives. It's recently become an audiobook as well through Audible if you prefer that. The community is really diverse and includes First Nations families, a Filipino family, a Muslim daycare center worker. There's queerness, there's neurodiversity, there's discussions on class and poverty and family. Hernandez tells the story with such tenderness. The chapters are so short and so easy to read that I read it in like a day. I cried like 4 separate times, happy and sad. Some of the characters' stories are probably my favourite and have stuck with me since I read the novel. This is one of those books where I almost couldn't write the review because I was so emotional and I didn't want to spoil anything, but my favourite parts were spoilers, so yeah. I highly recommend it and I give it 5 stars. Tomboy Survival Guide by Ivan Coyote is another book I loved by Arsenal Pulp Press, and this book introduced me to one of my favourite authors. This book is how memoirs should be. Coyote's tender craftsmanship is incredible. Their vignettes are like memories, with a message they tie into their later life, like a lifeline. Each time you read a new vignette, you can feel it building and building until they release it like a rope coiling at your feet. Their message comes through. This is why they wrote this. Arsenal Pulp Press has included gorgeous illustrations and etchings of usually things that you would find in instruction manuals. How to tie knots, how to cast on knitting, the component parts of a generator, how to use a hacksaw, which gives the stories such a great individual texture. Each of these etchings means something to the story, and it just adds another layer of polish to an already fantastic book. This is one of the reasons why Arsenal Pulp Press is one of my favourite publishers. They're not afraid to shy away from books that might be conventionally more difficult to publish. They add lots of details and media, and it makes for such a wonderful reading experience. A trans friend of mine read this and said she cried on average every 23 pages, good tears and bad tears. Anytime she didn't cry, she laughed. It was the same for me. I love Ivan. I feel like so many trans books and memoirs are written to help cisgender people understand trans people. And the problem with some of those is that you begin to see only one side of the person, the trans side. Ivan Coyote is more than their transness, and by writing memoirs of their lived experience, you begin to understand how they lived their life as a trans person without it ever being a spectacle. Coyote writes for everyone. Their writing is soft in a world that tries to make them hard. They have thoughtful insights on gender and how that makes us the way we are. Coyote often says the world didn't make space for their trans body, but every time they write a book, and they've written 11, they make a space for another trans person, and another, and another, and another. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to read more of Coyote's work. What do I want to read of theirs, you ask? I'd love to read Persistence, All the Ways Butch and Femme, which is a queer non-fiction anthology by lots of authors, including Coyote. Missed Her and The Slow Fix are both short story collections published by Arsenal Pulp Press, of course, and they're playful, wistful, melancholy collections that discuss gender, berate queer newspapers for describing trans people as extreme, and find small, insignificant truths in people's everyday lives, and I can't wait to read both of them. Boat Grip is Ivan's debut novel, and it's about a small-town mechanic who's dealing with the fact that his wife left him for another woman, until he discovers a used cello and an old acquaintance. Coyote has such a truthfulness and such insight into people that I feel like this is going to make me cry. I usually would stray away from these types of dramatic books, except it's published by Arsenal Pulp Press, by one of my favourite authors, and it's queer, so that's all I need to know. The last book of Coyotes I want to read is co-authored by Ray Spoon, which is such a cute name. What? And it's called Gender Failure. It's part memoir, part essay, littered with images and poetry and lyrics. It's all about growing up queer, what that means, and how to love yourself. Ray Spoon is a trans indie musician, and so I'm really looking forward to reading some of their work. One of their books, First Spring Grassfire, published by, you already know, Arsenal Pulp Press, was nominated for a Lambda Award in 2013, which focuses on LGBTIQA works. I'd love to see how their lyrical work translates to poetry on the written page. The next book I'd love to read, published by Arsenal Pulp Press, is Joshua Whitehead's Jonny Appleseed. Jonny Appleseed is about a cybersex worker who fetishizes himself in order to support himself. For 1 week, Jonny returns to the reservation where he grew up in order to attend his stepfather's funeral. This week is a total fever dream of queerness, kinship, and heartbreaking revelations. This book is grit, glitter, and everything I want in a novel. I am first in line to get it from the library, so I cannot wait till they order it in. Whitehead is a queer OG Cree author, and he's currently touring right now with this book, as well as a lot of other authors from Arsenal Pulp Press. So if you're interested, but not 100% sure if you want to buy it, go to one of these events, and I promise you will leave with armfuls of his books. Another book I'm looking forward to reading is Body Music by Julie Marot. Marot wrote the acclaimed graphic novel Blue is the Warmest Color, one of my favorite queer graphic novels of all time. Body Music is set in Montreal and follows lots of different threads of stories, all involving love and desire. This sounds like a really diverse collection featuring queer love, old love, platonic love, all in Marot's familiar, warm, impressionistic, and watercolor palette. It's been a long time since I've read anything by Julie Marot, and this will be a welcome addition to my shelves for sure. What I love about Arsenal Pulp Press is that they've really stuck to their core values as a company. When they began in the 1970s, they were disenchanted with what they perceived to be the academic extensions of the Canadian literature scene, which I think still runs true today. In the 1980s, they began adding First Nation stories, memoirs, photo books, and plays, and collections to their repertoire. But internationally, they were known for their LGBTIQA publishing program and was one of the first houses to publish queer media in Canada in the 1990s. In 2005, Arsenal, with the help of editor Mark MacDonald, author of the novel Flat, started the Little Sisters Classic series, a collection of classic gay and lesbian novels from the past that had gone out of print, resurrected for a new generation of readers. Little Sisters Bookshop is a queer bookshop in Vancouver that won a 15-year court battle with the Canadian government over imports of their books. I visited there and I love it so much, and I discuss Little Sister Bookshop in more detail in a discussion video about queer bookshops, which I'll link down below. They also specialize in a lot of visual art books, often co-published with art galleries and other institutions. Another specialty of theirs is vegan and vegetarian recipe books. If you've ever been to Vancouver, you know it's a vegan and vegetarian paradise. So many restaurants and cafes are vegan friendly or exclusively vegan, and so it's no surprise that Arsenal supports its customer base by championing awesome vegan cookbooks. As a house, they try to focus on going a little more offbeat and choosing stories that challenge what it means to be a story, if that makes sense. As a result, they have books that feature vegetarian bisexual vampires, Chinese myths set in contemporary landscapes, books told exclusively in dialogue, and more. I love them as a house. I love how they tear down traditional ideas of what it means to be a publishing house and what a publishing house should be, and instead create something totally their own. Their books are underground, joyfully queer, and so diverse. Arsenal Pulp Press feels like a friend to me. Every time I see their name on a book, I know it's going to be good. I'll leave their website and Twitter down below. Please go support them because they're so wonderful. That's it, that's all for this video today. Who are your favorite publishers or houses? What's your favorite queer book you've read recently? Let's talk in the comments below. Bye everyone!